Привет, Свiem, everyone. Like you said, I'm Resul Yuldirim. I'm UX designer and the founder of Artisan UX. Artisan is a small boutique agency that focuses on mobile UX and UI of the projects, based in Istanbul, but we work in Estonia and London too, so we're growing. Other than I'm a Google design expert, that means Google not paying me. I don't earn any money from Google. I do not work for Google, but I work with Google on some occasions. And also I'm a sprint master. That means I'm recognized internationally to host design sprints with companies and startups and volunteer groups. And today we will talk about material design. Do you watch the Star Trek series? How many people are there that watch the Star Trek series? Or how many of you know Spock? He says, live long and prosper. So today we try to focus on the past, the present, and the future of the material design and Google's design approach. Our schedule is, sorry, but I'm gonna bullshit something, all right? Prepare for my bad jokes, sorry in advance. And also we will talk about material design, its points, like bad points, principles, updates, features, and some Q&As. So how many of you own an iPhone or owned an iPhone in the past? All right, so when the Apple first announced the iPhone, everyone got crazy. Like there is a touch screen, there are mobile applications, but when you look back, there was something change in both platforms for Apple, iOS, Microsoft. So when we check the short history of mobile design, we started with skeuomorphic design. Skeu and morph, these are Greek words. These are, Elisa knows the meaning of them. Skeu means vessel, right? And morph is an impression of it. So skeuomorphism comes and means that using real-life materials into your design as they are in the real time. So what does it mean? If you remember, there is a YouTube icon at iOS 6. There was a TV with antennas, and in the middle of it, there was a YouTube logo. So the approach of skeuomorphism is that take something in real life, put some shadows and 3D effects, and put it on your design. That was the approach. Then flat design came out. In flat design, Apple and the other designers decided to eliminate these 3D objects and overuse shadows to give a flat and more minimalistic approach to their designs. So there were overlays, there were more vibrant colors, there were surfaces, and also everything was flat and fluent. So what do we have now? We have tiled navigations, cards, shadows, and gestures, thumb-focused interactions, and minimalist approach. So everything is changing during the time. And Google's approach also had changed. So they announced material design in 2014. So material design came up on Google I/O at 2014, and the idea of material design is to merge these two design perspectives, skeuomorphism and flat design. But since their announcement, we didn't see so much improvements until 2018's Google I/O. But before that, I'm going to show you some principles of material design so you can understand it and you can work on your projects like Google does. So, the first rule of material design, material is a metaphor. Not like this one, but material is a metaphor. That means material gets impressions from real life, real objects, real surfaces, and real feelings. So the surfaces in the material design are intuitive and natural. So imagine I'm holding two papers, all right? When I hold them like that, the upper one put a shadow on the other one, right? So material design's approach is like that. We try to get some information, and this information dimensionally affords interaction. So triggers the users that they are working with real objects and real feelings. On the other hand, the third focus on material design is providing the same experience on every platform, from websites to mobile apps to smartwatches. So it's an adaptive design, and every single component on your design can be adapted for different platforms with material design. The other one is, in the material design, content, they say content is the king. So Google says content is bold, graphic, and intentional. So the way we convey the information for our content is good images, good fonts, good typography, good white space usage, and also giving the bold text to convey the real and necessary information. And also, material design aims to emphasize action. You know the floating action button. Everyone puts floating action button on the screen, thinks that they are making material design applications. We'll come that too. But the main idea of this, emphasize actions to call the users to an action. So if you have a main function of your app, the idea behind this is to trigger user to take that action and use your application. And also, users initiate change. That means, so we say the material design comes from real life and real surfaces. Okay, I have a big belly and I'm going to show you something. So when I put my finger into my belly, it goes, right? It goes in it. So the idea behind the material design is that when you push a button on your screen, there's a shadow behind the button and it goes around it, right? Like my finger and the belly. So material design try to give that information to you and try to initiate that you made the changes on the screen. And also, the critical part of material design also is animations. It's quite hard for developers, I know, but animations are choreographic on a shared stage. So every component has its own habits on material design and its own animations. So we also use animations to convey the information to our users. And also every motion in material design provides meaning. That means when you swipe a card, that means you don't want to see it. All right? When you click a call to action button and it expands, that means you want to see it and it comes around on your exam. But is it really good? Is everything about Google's material design good? I got some points for you. These are not totally my opinions. I also talk with some colleagues. I dig into Medium, I dig into other design websites and collect them for you. So, do you have any ideas or suggestions? Are you happy with material design, or is there any problem that you actually have right now? And from my perspective, the first one is 50 Shades of Shadow, aka shadow porn. Every component, every object in material design has a dark and straight shadow. And actually, we are not happy about that. And to be honest, I've never used the original shadow amount in the material design on my designs. So I always change it. I always make it smooth and more light. And every time I see a shadow like it, it's so sharp. All right? And the second one, it's not a good fit for web. Sorry, spiders. So you cannot adapt material design very good into your web projects. It's not designed for web. The main idea of material design, I hope it doesn't break. The main idea of material design is giving you information on mobile. It's designed for fingers, all right, not mouses. It's designed for fingers, and every object and every animation in the material design aims that you're gonna tap them instead of click them. so it's not web friendly. And the other one is feedbacks. To be honest, feedbacks animations, sometimes they can be really overwhelming, like this one. Everything is moving and moving and moving and distract me when I'm interacting with the screen. So I'm not happy with all the feedbacks in the material design. Also, data-oriented components. We don't have so much data-oriented components in material design. So when you create a form, actually you only have error tags. So you need to fill this form, that form, and the other form, and the other form. So we don't have so much data-oriented components to convey the information. What about new updates? Everything is bad? No, we try to fix them, right? So this year, after Google I/O, Google decided to reorganize the material design website and put everything together in material.io. And when you go into material.io, there are three sections: design, develop, and tools. So let's focus on the design part first. All right, let's see the new UI components. The first one, new floating action and new bottom navigation drawer. So the floating action button is really a pain for me, because almost every client of mine thinks that when you put a floating action button on your screen, your application is now a 100% material design. So this is not wrong. This is not right. Also, there is another usage of floating action button, is to put every action into one floating action button in your application. And when users tap it, list them as long as they can go. So this is also not right. So we have a new, refreshed user interface, both in material design and also Android. If you install the Android Pie, you can see that. If you install the new Google Photos application, you can see that. So Google also realized that. Google also realized they are doing something bad and they need to improve their UI. So screens are getting bigger and bigger and bigger every day. In the old, the big screens were not a selection for users. Do you remember the 3310, Nokia 3310? So it was a great device at that time, right? Now we have iPhone XR, XS, XS Max, XS Plus. Everything is getting bigger and bigger and bigger, but our fingers are not getting bigger. So we need to put the navigation bottom of our screen. And with the new bottom navigation in the Android and material design, Google tries to cover it. So hello again, the hamburger menu. We have the hamburger menu now again. And also we have different usages of fab. So we can put it on the right, we can put it on the middle, we can work with it. It doesn't matter, I'm gonna come to details again. And now we have backdrop. Backdrop actually reminds me iOS, what does it, settings navigation, when you swipe up your screen to open up the Wi-Fi and Bluetooth and everything. So backdrop works like that. Backdrop is a listing option. You can put some filters on it. You can list your items, and we'll see what happens. That's a new component, and I'm actually wonder about the next steps of backdrop. And we have chips. We already had chips, but we have better chips. So there are a couple of different usage of chips. You can use it for example, in this example, you can use it as a name card, and you can use it for multiple name cards. You can use it for selections. There are different kind of uses of chips. And also, we have snack bars. Snack bars, I know they are sometimes boring, especially when you make a mistake. We use it to recover your mistake and remind you that, dude, are you sure about the action you took? So snacks are also getting useful. And also we have new banners. Banners were already existing in material design, but we have now a little animation with it. So you can use banners also. And new animations, like there was no other. So with these new micro interactions, material design aims to improve the interaction with the user. So these micro interactions are focused on the small details of your design and catch your user's eye when they make a change. All right? The next step is, now we are going into the future of material design, the material theming. Material theming actually a Sketch plugin. Currently that works with Sketch like a plugin, and the main idea of material theming is to be the next evolution of material design metaphor. What does it mean? It means, especially it's quite good for designers because you have a couple of pre-made themes in the material theming, this one. Also, you can create your own themes. And here we go. So when we install the material theming plugin into the Sketch, it gives us a couple of templates. And when I select the options for material theming, I'm able to change the color, I'm able to change the typeface, I'm able to change the dimensions of the items in my design. Also, when I change the color, it applies all the components and all the items or the objects in my design, so I don't need to re-update them all the time. So it's great for designers that works with material design, and also it really helps to decrease the time you put on your design process. Like you see, I just choose the Montserrat, and right after that, everything turned into Montserrat. Just one click. Choose the font, update it, and here you go. And also we have another one called Gallery, Google Gallery. Google Gallery designed to work with material theming and Sketch. It's a feature under material theming, and when you make some changes on your material theming, you can upload it to your gallery account. So Gallery is a handoff tool for designers and developers. Do you use a handoff tool? Is there anyone that uses a handoff tool here? No? Okay. So speaking of handoff tools creates an environment for developers and designers to work together. How does it work? I upload my design to that handoff tool, and that tool gives all the necessary information to the developer, like button sizes, text sizes, button colors, gradient amounts. Every single one can be shown on the left or right of the screen. So Google Gallery is one of them, and sharply focused on material design projects. And the best part of it, actually, it works on iOS, Android, web, and even Flutter. That means when you create something on material, on Android dimensions, when you upload it to your gallery account, it converts it into web, into Flutter, into Android, and into iOS. So when you need to get a different size of the icon, you just need to go there, choose the Flutter, and download the icon. That's it. So it really helps you to gain more time than you actually do. Just like the Turkish startup Zeppelin. Sorry about that, Zeppelin. So, do you have any other questions? I do. No, I'm not done yet. So the thing is, I don't know how many of you are designers, but as long as we exist as designers, all right? For example, I intend to be living forever. And so far, so good. Everything is fine about me. But as long as the humankind exists, designers will be, and we try to change the world with our minds, with our creativity. And this path, every tool we can use is a good friend of ours. All right? So, okay, you don't need to use them all, but you can try it. Just try to use the material theming and the material design in your projects. Just give some feedbacks to the man behind the designs and try to change the platform, because material design is growing with our feedbacks. And as long as we give feedbacks, they have the necessary information and make the necessary changes. All right? So, do you have any questions?
Thank you, Resul, for your report. Any questions? Feel free, yeah, to ask your questions in the same manner.
Okay.
We have an assistant. Resul, you have a lot of mails.
Why do you said about material design is not good for web? There are a lot of material design CSS frameworks adapted for both of the screens. So the thing is, material design is not optimized for web. The first idea of material design is actually focusing on mobile applications. So material design designed for mobile applications and mobile screens, then converted to web design. That's why, yes, of course, there are really good implementations of material design on web too, but it's not as easy as mobile, and it's not as friendly as mobile. That's why. People love material design because it provides all tools to create working prototype. Is it any other tool design system with the same powerful tools to make working prototype? For prototyping, yes, material design is a good platform, but you can even use a pen and a paper to make a prototype. You don't need even a system. So, yes, material design is optimized for mobile and user-friendly. I agree with that. But also, material design has its own limitations. And you cannot implement everything into material design. All right? So, yes, I personally love material design. I use material design, but that doesn't mean material design is awesome or 100% true. We also need to find some problems to improve it and make it further and make it better. So what do you think about design for VR applications? Does material design suit for VR? So from a professional perspective, I didn't work any VR projects, so I don't know how they work, but VR is a different approach, and VR has its own limitations and opportunities. So I can't tell you anything about implementing a material design project into a VR project because I've never experienced it, sorry. What makes your designs special? I don't know. I didn't say anything like that. As a designer, of course, I have a big ego. And I think everything I design is good. After that, I turn back and look my old design, and they all look like shit. So it happens all the time. There is no perfect design. You cannot make everyone happy. What can make you so for something else that matter? I couldn't read it, so please come and find me later. What about the false? As I can see, Google starting to replace Roboto with somewhat else. How font is complements overall theme. Thank you. I thank you. One of the biggest problem is material design is not designed for Gestalt rules. Do you know the Gestalt? Gestalt is the way that people understand the objects as a group, not as a separate things. So in the first time, material design had a lot of Gestalt problems to organize the objects on the screen. But in time, they tried to figure it out. And fonts also a big part of that, because when you use a shitty font in a beautiful UI, it doesn't look fancy as it should be. So for font wise, oh, that's a hard. So Google is converting product Sans font, Google's font, for their own applications. And also there are a couple of different Roboto versions, like Roboto Condensed, Roboto Slab. And also there are other Google fonts, tons of Google fonts. So there is no rules about Roboto or other fonts, but as time changes, as screen resolutions changes, as the features of the devices changes, of course the fonts will change and adapt that update. Dear Janar, can you share your favorite apps list and some great plugins for Sketch? Apps on Android. So personally, my favorite one is Tinder. Other than that, I really like I think one of the best implementations of material design is Marvelous. I don't know you heard about that. There's an app called Marvelous. It helps you to drink enough water in a day, or it helps you to plan your schedule during the day, so it's good. And for design applications, for another part, for prototyping, I use Marvel and InVision, and also Principle. I think Principle is great if you want to show up something. And some great plugins for Sketch. I use Zeppelin and Google Gallery currently. They really make things easy. And also I use Craft Manager. Craft also helps me a lot to find good images and dummy information. So how to combine simplicity and technology in material design? To test. Okay, so it's quite hard. Making a simple and fancy application is really hard. And as of now, the current design approach is going minimalist with big fonts, fancy images, and less text. So implementing a minimalist project into material design, or simplicity and technology into material design, is not hard as in 2014, because Google is also minimizing the icons, the typography, the components, and also that shadow porn. So it's easier with new components and materials. So which of the projects Google where you took a part is the most successful by your opinion? Most of the projects I work on are under NDA, so I cannot give you the name, but I work for Turkcell, the biggest mobile operator in Turkey. I work for Vodafone. I work for 500 startups for a couple of startup projects. And most of them, actually, we use material design, and it's really hard to tell you a name, because there is my favorite is under development right now. It will be published in Q1. So give me your email address and I'm gonna send you the details when they publish it. But it's a big project. I spent 8 months to design all the screens. It's for an airline project. So keep tuned yourself and give me your email address so I can send you the details. So did you explore more clickable zone on the screen? How are you did it? I didn't get the question, so just find me. Apple speakers said on WWDC that side menus are weird. Why Google decided to return a hamburger? I have the same question. I have a small story about that, a short story. In 2016, Google decided to implement bottom menu into material design. So I was in a meeting with a customer, and they were trying to, they had so much features, and we couldn't hide them in the hamburger menu. So we came up with an idea. We told them we can use a bottom navigation bar. So they say, it's not on the guideline, we do not go outside the guideline. I don't know why. Okay, so we went home. In the morning, when we wake up, material design implemented the bottom navigation bar into the material design guidelines. So the next meeting was, how can we solve the bottom navigation bar? And we implemented it. So personally, I believe button navigation bar is much better for especially big screens and so many features. But you know, there are some gourmets that love hamburgers, so there's nothing to do. You said that material design was created for smartphones. So what is your favorite design for web apps? I visit uplabs.com quite often for material design wise. And other than for my favorite website, I cannot tell you right now. It's a special one. So just joking. I love, let me think about that. I love Google Drive. I don't know why, because we are organizing a DevFest next week, so I use Google Drive all the day. That's why I love Google Drive. I don't know, but yeah, the first one is right. Material design was created and optimized for mobile, and there are really good implementations on web. What do you think? Do we return back to flat design in 5 years, or things like VR and voice control would win? So voice interaction or conversational UX is my favorite. I spend so much time to really understand the fundamentals of conversation design, and I believe the future is conversation design. And also I think Google believes that too, because they put so much effort in it. And I don't think that we go back to flat design, because the material design's aim was to improve flat design. And when you check the App Store right now, at least half of the applications are on material design instead of flat. So I'm waiting something big from Apple for a new design language. And if they do, I think that's going to be really fun to watch the war between two technology giants. So with all these shadows and bold colors, is there a guideline for accessibility? Yes, we do. So accessibility is a very good point. Thank you. I worked on I worked with 50,000 people for accessibility project in 2017 and 2016. So material design is not 100% optimized for accessibility. They are still evolving. The fact that Apple is much better than Android as of now with VoiceOver and other things, but Google tried to catch up, and they really put so much new features since the 2016's I.O. So the platform is growing. And in the material design guideline, material.io/guideline, there is a part about accessibility, and they tell you how you should combine the components between them to create a fluent user interface. I can show you if you want, right after my presentation. So any other questions? Okay, I'll be here all day because Tinder is not working well for me. If you have any questions, just ping me and ask it. All right, thank you. Спасибо.